Hello everyone, today I will be discussing how you can achieve your language learning goals in 2025 using free resources. And so I just have 5 tips to share with you and also a couple free resources for you to check out if you're interested. So my first tip is to set what I would like to call mini goals. So language learning is a long and difficult journey, as you all probably know, and it is easy to get discouraged. So I encourage you to set these like mini goals, which you could say you could complete once a day, once a week, once a month, whatever works for you. Because learning an entire language is an almost infinite process, and it can be very easy to get discouraged simply because there's just so much content to cover. And at times it can feel like you're getting nowhere. So, for example, you could set daily, weekly, even monthly mini goals to break down the whole giant process of learning a language. And it is extremely important for you to reward yourself for your efforts in language learning. So, for example, after you complete these mini goals, make sure you set a reward for yourself and actually define that reward before you finish the goal, because this will give you something to work towards and it would also kind of reward your brain. Because if you just keep completing these goals and then just like check it off your to-do list or whatever and you get like 2 seconds of dopamine and that's like it's not going to keep you very motivated. So definitely promise yourself something for completing these goals and then actually give it to yourself after completing them. And these rewards could be honestly anything that makes you happy. It could be watching an episode of your favorite TV show, it could be treating yourself to dessert in the evening, it could be pretty much anything. My second tip is to understand why you're learning a language. So it is really difficult to stay motivated and even know like what to learn in the language if you don't know exactly why you're learning it. So definitely write that down on paper and define that to keep you motivated and to help guide your learning process. It is also really important to feel passionate about something that is really difficult to do, like learning a language, and defining your why for learning your language is going to really help you stay motivated and passionate about the whole process. And not only will clarifying your why keep you motivated, but it will also help guide you in what vocabulary and grammar to focus on in learning a language. For example, if you're going to be traveling, you might want to focus on travel related vocab such as ordering food, tickets, buying souvenirs, and things like that, and also navigating cities. Like if you need to ask a local for directions, how do you do that, and so on. Also, my third tip might surprise you a little bit, but just bear with me, okay? So, this might be a bit of a hot take, but do not rely on Duolingo to teach you a language. Okay, I know it's very popular, I know it's very fun, but it's not the most effective. You've probably seen those memes about like the weird Duolingo sentences it tries to teach you that are completely and utterly useless, that there's some truth to that. And in my opinion, Duolingo can be a great supplement to your language learning, but it's not a good basis of it. It's a good like reward if you want to do something fun with it while also like being kind of productive. Also, a big problem that I have with Duolingo, at least like in my experience when I used it, to study Russian, is that it did not really explain grammar, which for an English speaker learning Russian, that's extremely important, and that completely was left out of the whole process of that, and that really confused me, and it was really bad. So, don't recommend that. Definitely don't use it to learn grammar. Maybe some vocab, but I wouldn't rely on that for grammar unless you can like learn by example really easily. Anyway, so like I said, in my opinion, Duolingo can be a great supplement to your language learning, but it should never be the basis of it. And what I mean by this is that, so maybe after dedicating maybe half an hour per day, just depending on how much room you have in your schedule, you can feel free to spend some time on Duolingo, like 5-10 minutes or even more, if you just want something like fun and relaxing that also helps you maintain what you've already learned and also helps reinforce that. And it's also good practice for knowledge that you've already gained, in my opinion. So, as an alternative to these gamified options of language learning, I would recommend seeking out well thought out lessons online. You can access a ton of these for free. There are bloggers who teach languages that post these online. Also, you can find some on websites. And also, YouTube is a huge resource for language learning tips and advice and also full lessons. And I would honestly recommend these, like, I guess, well thought out lessons to explain grammar and then try to learn vocab more independently. Also, one tip I would recommend is to find word frequency lists for your target language, especially when you're first starting out and you're like, okay, what are the main words I need to know in this language in order to communicate? And like that will help you build a lot of really common phrases. Also, if you are already somewhat proficient in your target language, consider searching up words that you might struggle to find in conversations. Or, for example, what you can do is you can start writing down, I don't know, like a journal entry or something about a certain topic. Say, for example, like what you do on a daily basis if you're kind of a beginner, or any other like niche topic or general topic that you want to learn more about and how to express. So, for example, you can start either speaking and recording yourself, or you can write something down in a journal or on a piece of paper, whatever works, and then write down in whatever your native language is what words that you struggle to find in your target language, and then look those up in a dictionary online. There are tons of these out there for free. And then use the example sentences, especially in those dictionaries, to define like the context that you can use that word in, because that's an extremely important thing. Don't just type it into Google Translate because that might not be accurate. Use dictionaries instead, please. All right, my fourth tip is to cultivate self-discipline. This will just be helpful in life in general as well, not just for language learning, but it's extremely important in language learning, especially if you are learning a language independently. So, as I've already said, learning a language is really hard. And in order to become fluent in your target language, it is going to take a lot of time and effort, probably several years. So here are a few tips to develop some self-discipline and be more productive in your language learning without being in a serious amount of psychological pain and probably just giving up. I'm going to try to help you make it easier. So you can set timers. For example, if you're having like a really bad day and you really don't want to dedicate like any time to learning the language, you're just done. Just set a timer for maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes, maybe longer if you feel like you can do that. And then just like tell yourself, okay, I'm going to sit down and learn for that amount of time, and that's it, and then I'll be done. And usually after this, you will already be in a momentum of learning, so then you can actually continue learning for even longer, a lot easier. So I guess just gaslight yourself into thinking you're not going to be studying for as long as you actually are going to be studying, and then you'll be good. And also, my last tip is to build a community of language learners if you haven't already done so, especially if you're studying independently and you're not taking classes. So having friends with like-minded goals is extremely important when trying to do any difficult task, especially learning a language, because you can exchange advice with these people. You can ask them for tips if they seem to understand something that you don't, and you can also give them advice if you understand something that they don't. It also creates a community and a space for you to just vent about your difficulties. Like if you're having a really hard time and you just need to like talk to somebody about it, like, and you need encouragement, it's a great way to find that. Also, if you can, definitely try to find someone who speaks your native language, also as a native and is learning your target language, but actually speaks your target language a bit better than you, is at like a higher level than you, because then you can ask them for tips and advice on how they got to that point. And also, most importantly, I encourage you to connect with native speakers online. You can do this using several different language exchange apps, such as HelloTalk and Tandem, which I will link in the description for you to download if you're interested. Both of these apps are free and the basic functions on them are free, but you can also buy a subscription if you want to get extra benefits. Also, connecting with native speakers of your language, especially, this is more if you're like an intermediate or advanced learner, so you can actually like speak to them and have a conversation. But this is extremely important for learning conversational vocab, because sometimes textbooks aren't really that accurate for like real life, and sometimes they're outdated and it's like bad. So this is a good way for you to learn how people actually talk. So especially things like slang, and other conversational phrases that you don't really see in writing or in textbooks that much, but you need to know to understand native speakers. And it can also give you a lot of cultural insights into the culture that you're studying by extension of learning a language. And so it also develops some cultural context for conversations as well. And finally, I would like to add one extremely important point, and that is do not compare yourself to other people when you are learning a language. So it is very easy to look at, say, one of your peers in a class or someone else in your language learning community and compare yourself to them. But in reality, you don't really know like their whole story. They could have like family who speaks that language or have some other advantage in studying. Or also, everyone just has a different brain, a different personality, different talents. So it doesn't make sense to compare yourself to those people. Only compare yourself to the past version of you and just try to reflect on the progress that you have made over time. And also, alternatively, if you do find someone who is like extremely talented at learning languages or just seems to have like better learning techniques than you, definitely, instead of just comparing yourself to them, ask them for advice and see like what they can do to help you and what you can learn from them. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good new year. Wishing you all the best of luck in your language learning journeys. And I'll see you. Bye.